afternoon, everyone. And Mary, thank you so much for playing piano this afternoon. If you haven't already, now is the perfect time to silence your cell phones. We want to be fully present during our celebration of Diana today. To begin our time here together, Diana's daughter Andrea will perform a piece of music called Pie Jesu, accompanied by Bob Downard. What a beautiful tribute to her mother. Let's hear that song. That really was a beautiful tribute. Thank you. Wow. Hello, my name is Heather. I'm a celebrant. You've all come together today because one of your own, one you love so very much, Diana Rutherford, has passed away. She's survived by her husband, David, her children, Heather and Andrea, and her grandchildren, Ella and Noli. Diana is also survived by her sister, Dora, and her mother, Maxine. And on behalf of the family, thank you all so much for being here. Your presence means such a great deal during this time of sorrow. And though we are here to celebrate the life of Diana, it is important to pause for just a moment and mention that November has not been a great month for the family. In November of 2014, her father Milton passed away, and then Diana's brother, David, passed in November of 2021. So November's a challenging month. We'll have a moment of silence now to honor Milton and David's passing as well. We will celebrate today, this is true. There's a lot to be celebrated. And know that it's also okay to grieve. After all, it's never easy to say goodbye to someone you love. There will be laughter, and there will be tears. All of it is normal. So allow whatever emotions arise, and be open to sitting with those emotions, knowing that they all come from a place of great love. Who was Diana? Well, she was quite the lady. She had a little bit of a stubborn side, and she was strong-willed, but more than that, she was positive, generous, supportive, and helpful. Diana was artistic and loved sparkly things. And she was not super great with the timing on her jokes. Diana was a devoted wife, mother, puppy mom, and grandmother, a beautiful light. Diana was also interested in the metaphysical, and she had a deep relationship with the angels, particularly Michael. He is the chief of God's angels, and when Michael comes to us, he's there to help us with strength and healing. When we pray to Michael, he can help us with emotionally difficult moments in our lives, such as the loss of Diana. And knowing that Michael can be of help to those dealing with grief, let's take a moment to invite him into our space with us now. And if it feels comfortable, close your eyes for just a moment. And imagine roots coming down from the soles of your feet and into the ground below you. Your body feeling rooted, safe, and protected. Michael, we ask you to be by our side on this day of all days. Please give us the emotional strength to manage the grief we feel in our hearts at the loss of Diana. Thank you. We are safe and protected now and always. And so it is. If they were closed, you may open your eyes. The beautiful, bright light, Diana, was born in 1953 to Milton and Maxine Killian. Yes, that light was lit. She was one of 3 children, and she grew up alongside her sister Dora and her brother David. Diana was born at Camp Carson in Colorado Springs way back in the day before it was known as Fort Carson. And since her dad Milton was in the military, the family moved around a lot during Diana's formative years. They lived in Canada, Kansas, California, and even Texas. So based on that last location mentioned, you can understand why Diana always had a healthy dislike of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was in her early years that Diana fell in love with music and theater. She was active in both during her high school years in North Glen. In her young adulthood, Diana got a chance invitation. She was invited to attend a Beach Boys concert at the Air Force Base with a friend, and there Diana met her friend's boyfriend and also connected with a young cadet, David. He overheard Diana talking to her friend about Kansas, and since David grew up there, He saw it as the perfect opportunity to jump right in and introduce himself. He did, and the rest is, as they say, history. David seemed to surround himself with strong-willed women. Diana was one of those, and their daughters became two more. In 1977, Diana and David were married. They moved to Wichita, Kansas for a time, and then returned to Colorado in 1992. What a wonderful marriage the two had. David has some words he'd like to share about his wife, and so I invite him up now to do that.
We are live streaming this, and so I knew I have several relatives that are in what we call in our family the K word, that state that's just to the east of Colorado. So I would like to welcome you and thank you for spending your time with us. Any of you that are actors know that I've violated one of the first laws of headshots with Diana's headshot there. But this is the way I prefer to remember her. Young and healthy. We celebrated our 45th wedding anniversary this past March. And one of the things that my daughters gave to us, and if you watched the slideshow earlier, you saw us in rather regal garb. They bought us some land in the Highlands of Scotland, just outside Glencoe, if you're interested. And I have that documentation. We are officially Lord and Lady Rutherford. She's my Lady Diana. I had intended to tell this story at our 50th anniversary, but I suppose now's the time. As you just heard, and if you've read her obituary, you know that we met while I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy down in Colorado Springs. And we attended a Beach Boys concert. And I think everyone around us was very upset with us because I was more interested in talking to this new girl than listening to the music. At the time, I was working at the campus radio station, KAFA, and I took her with me when I went backstage to interview members of the group, the Beach Boys. I really wanted to impress this new girl. Then after the concert, she drove us back to the dorm. Actually, I drove her car back to the dorm. And rather than getting out and going around and opening her door, I simply scooted across the front seat and gave her a kiss. Her immediate reaction was, wow. A bit of relationship advice to those of you that when they say wow, pay attention. It's a good thing. We got married in North Lynn in 1977 and then moved off to the K word. By her telling, I kidnapped her and made her live in Wichita for 16 years. There was a ring involved in the transaction, but that's where we built a home. We had our two children, Heather and Andrea, and then moved back here in 1992 and lived in Aurora since then. And had my daughter get married, have our two wonderful grandchildren, Noli and Ella. We made a home, we made friends, we made a community. And many times we would be joking and I would say, it's all your fault. And as I look back and realize that much of who I am and the man I am today is because of her. I can say with great authority, it's all her fault. I don't mean it in a negative way, of course. She loved movies, old movies. We had a rule that she could only watch movies while I was awake or in the room that were younger than me, which of course is a rather wide expanse these days of available films. But she would often be watching the old movies of the 30s and 40s in black and white with a plot that moves along with the speed of the last ice age. But one of the movies that she and I would enjoy watching together in science fiction was a time travel film in 1989, Millennium, with Chris Christopherson and Cheryl Ladd. And if I may wrap up by paraphrasing the ending of that film, Diana's faith and my faith is such as that it isn't over. And in that film it says, this is not the end. This is not the beginning of the end. It is perhaps the end of the beginning. Thank you.
When Diana and David welcomed their daughters, Heather and Andrea, into the world, there was so much joy. Diana was a wonderful mother. She always tried to be strict, but it never seemed to stick. And she was a confidant. Sometimes the girls told their mom things that they didn't want their dad to hear. Diana kept those conversations to herself, ensuring that trust between her and her daughters was never broken. One of the most profound gifts Diana gave to her daughters was the gift of being their excuse. So Diana was willing to be thrown under the bus if it helped her girls in any way. If there was ever a situation where they felt like they just needed to get out of, they could place the blame on their mom. With a simple, my mom needs me, Heather and Andrea could get out of any situation that was uncomfortable. And this worked for phone calls too. Sometimes Andrea just really wanted to get off the phone. And by simply looking at her mom and giving that special mom-daughter look, Diana swooped in to save the day, letting Andrea know that she was needed and giving her the chance to get off the phone. If only we could all be so lucky to have somebody that we can rely on in those situations. Even as adults, Heather and Andrea knew that they could use this same tactic anytime they needed to. Heather remembers that no matter what was going on, her mom was always positive. Diana always had a smile on her face. And from her mom, Heather learned how to kill them with kindness and keep smiling through the difficult times. You know, if she could say anything to her mom, Heather would say, and I quote directly, "I'm sorry for being an asshole in my teenage years." Certainly your mom has forgiven you by now. And Andrea has some thoughts that she'd like to share about her mom, so I'll invite her up to do that now. Okay.
Yay, I can cry now. So, thoughts on my mother while sitting in a coffee shop. A little tip, don't write in a public place when you're talking about your mother. You get some looks. Because of her, my first picture books growing up were The Six Wives of Henry VIII and The Tower of London. It's true. As a child, I was telling people my celebrity crush was Gene Kelly, and I would fight them if they said Fred Astaire was better. I would come out of the metaphysical closet sometimes way too soon. You see, I'd been talking auras and archangels and chakras since childhood. This was a normal conversation for us. She was so strong or stubborn, whichever you prefer. A rheumatologist told her she would be in a wheelchair bound in 5 years. That was 20 years ago. She endured more pain than I thought possible on a daily basis, and she did it with a radiant smile and unwavering grace. She laughed and sang through it all. You were gone and it sucks, and I would get anything to get you back, but I'm so glad you're no longer in pain. And you're free of that body. Her beloved grandbabies called her Kiki. We don't know why. She told me how happy she was to get to know her mother better in the last couple years. She always said she was such a cool lady. When I lived far away, she called me every loved me. And I told her that I loved her just as often. Before she retired, she worked in customer service for a major health insurance company. She was often written up and got bad performance reviews because she cared too much about the people who would call. She showed too much empathy. She spent too much time on each call trying to actually help people. I'm very proud of that. She would love it when strangers would stop her and comment on her pendants and her mask. I'm so glad we made such a big deal of the 45th wedding anniversary with Dad. She's now an official landowner, titled lady, and commander biker, wished them well. I'm so glad you went to Hawaii this year and saw such beautiful things. I'm so glad I told you what happens in Outlander, because she was just watching the show and I was reading the book, so she knows. I promised to watch all of The Crown, even the boring parts without Princess Diana. I will watch all the old movies you told me to watch on TCM. I promise to travel to Europe and see all the castles and cathedrals that you loved. I promise to not let the bastards get me down. No anger is so righteous it's worth my health. I promise to look after our family and keep it together. You will be part of every graduation, every heartbreak, every celebration. You are so loved, and you loved us with all your heart. Whew, you made me strong, you made me kind. I know because of you, I will live a life where everything sparkles.
When her grandchildren, Noli and Ella, came into the picture, Diana was just as ecstatic as she was to have kids. And with a grandmother like her, you can bet that they've learned so much about life. Those lessons will be Diana's legacy, passed down through the many years ahead. And Ella, Diana's granddaughter, has some words she'd like to share, so I invite her up now.
Many of you know her as Lynn, although, like Auntie said, I call her Kiki. I'm not sure where we got the name, but I know when I was little, I started calling her that, and it stuck for sure. Dan Rutherford means something to everyone because she was such an amazing person. I know you'll probably get tired of hearing that, but you can't deny the truth. After all, there's no possible way to fit in all the amazing things she did in words, because there are too many. Although I know for a fact what her name is. D for devoted, because she was always there for you no matter what. I, impeccable, because she was always the kindest and happiest person in a room. A, artist, because she made the most colorful and beautiful designs and then turned them into items like clothes and masks. N, nifty, because not only could she design and create things, but she had a real talent for making jewelry and fixing it. And A, amazing, because she was just that great of a person. Although I'll never be able to cover everything about her, I think she was definitely devoted, impeccable, an amazing artist, nifty, and outstanding. Thank you.
You can see from all of those words that family is what Diana was most proud of. And they remembered her fondly for the way that she was in the world. It was important to Diana that she be kind to others. You never had to ask her for help because she was already one step ahead of you, volunteering to support you in any way that she could. And Diana had so many unique interests that she found time to enjoy. She made phone cases. During COVID, Diana made sure she had face masks to match all of her outfits. She ordered jewel-covered masks, and when she couldn't find one that she wanted, one that really fit, well, that was no problem. She just made her own mask. And her outfits. They were always so bright, just like her. Diana loved being colorful. If one of her daughters was wearing a printed top, they were told it was a Diana shirt. And she painted rocks, too. When Diana tried to sell them, she was confused as to why people weren't buying. I guess there just wasn't a market for them, but she really enjoyed the process nonetheless. One of Diana's unique interests was the metaphysical. She was fascinated with aura readings and psychic readings. In a way, Diana became an amateur geologist too. The healing powers of different crystals was something she liked to learn about. She knew a lot about rocks and what they can do for people. No matter where Diana went, she never went alone because she invoked the angels to stand with her and be by her side. She was also interested in Reiki, a form of energy healing, and she worked hard to become a master in the practice. She was just unapologetically herself. And we can all strive to be ourselves, no matter what. There's so much that I could tell you about Diana, and I know you all have your own stories that you'd like to share. So I invite you to think of a memory that has special meaning for you. And in a moment, you'll have the chance to tell them, if you'd like. Mary Daly, a friend of the family, is going to come back up and play a piece that Diana was particularly fond of, Nessun Dorma. It is a Pavarotti piece that Diana loved, and anyone who knows Diana knows that she loved Pavarotti. So let's hear that song while you think about what you might want to say. Diana's family is looking forward to hearing what you all have to say, and I'll bring the microphone around to you, so hopefully that'll help you feel comfortable enough to share. Who'd like to start? It's okay, I know. It's nerve-wracking when you're asked to share in front of others. Would anyone like to share? All right, that's okay. The good news is that you have some time at the reception, so if maybe speaking right now doesn't feel right for you, that's okay, because you'll have time to talk with the family and with each other. And I do encourage you during that time to just be with each other and share those stories that maybe you couldn't tell now. All of the beautiful memories of Diana are what makes saying goodbye so difficult. Diana had dealt with the challenges of RA and osteoporosis, and she had initially started feeling the effects of these in her 30s. Though she had her set of struggles with health, Diana never became bitter. She just went through life with her joyful and grateful attitude. When Diana developed pulmonary hypertension and heart failure, her family knew that they wouldn't have her for long. Of course, they'd hoped that they'd have her for a little bit longer. After her surgery in October, Diana's pain was not alleviated like everyone had hoped. It was as she and David got into the car to go back to a doctor's appointment that Diana collapsed and was taken to the hospital. Her family had to make the difficult decision to stop life-sustaining medications, and Diana passed shortly after. She was surrounded by people who loved her, and she knew how much you loved her. She felt it. People often question which is more difficult, knowing that someone you love is going to pass away while waiting and watching them deteriorate, or is it more challenging to experience a sudden, unexpected loss? For Diana's family, I feel like they've had kind of a bit of both. This loss was simultaneously expected and wholly unexpected, and both are heartbreaking. There's a bit of comfort in thinking of where Diana might be now. Her family pictures her at peace, in a place of healing and rest. They see her spending time with her dad and with David's mom. And you know, Diana was a firm believer in reincarnation. Maybe after she's had the chance to catch up with all the folks that she's missed, maybe we'll see her again. She'll come back around. How do we say goodbye to someone as loved as Diana? Perhaps the only way is with a simple thank you. Diana, you are so missed, and yet you live on in the lessons you taught us during your time here on earth. From you, we learned the importance of kindness. We saw how wonderful it can be to live life with a heart filled with patience, positivity, and gratitude. You leave us with a reminder of the words you spoke often, this too shall pass. And on those days when we remember those words, even when we don't want to believe it can really be that simple, we will recall you saying this. And we will remember that no matter what challenges come our way, yes, this too shall pass. As long as we take the lessons you gave us forward into our daily lives, As long as we regularly bring to mind the memories we have of you, your light will shine on. Thank you, Diana, for everything. Love and light to you on this, your final journey. And I offer this final prayer. Let us pray. God in heaven, be with us as we release Diana into your loving arms. Surround us with your angels to help build us up and keep us going through our sorrow. Be with us as we grieve, and help us to remember that we will see Diana again. Fill our hearts with the love of the ages, and so it is. Amen. You will all remember the amount of jewelry Diana liked to wear. She did love sparkly things after all. Diana always wore a choker around her neck with a coordinated jewel that matched her outfit perfectly. Jewelry was her thing, and even before an interview once, Diana decked herself out with tons of bracelets and rings. Her family had to convince her to remove some of it, much to Diana's chagrin. As a final goodbye, the family will gift Diana with some jewelry. And while they do, let's listen to one final song. This one is a piece composed by Diana called Angel of the New Dawn. Let's hear that as they bring that jewelry up. more of Diana's music, you can find it on SoundCloud by searching for Angel Blessed Reiki Music. So if you just want to hear some more of that beautiful stuff, find it. On behalf of the family, thank you all again for being here today. As you go into the weeks, days, months, and years ahead, remember these words from S.C. Laurie. Go into this time with the attitude that your peace, your health of mind, and your heart mean more than getting everything else done. That your smile matters, that feeling rested matters, that holding the hand of your loved ones matters. So pause lots, function at a pace that doesn't pull you apart. Honor the things that make you feel good inside, the things that make you feel alive. Give time to those things. Make time the gift that it is by giving it what really matters to you. And remember that grief does not end today, so reach out to one another to be a support, be it through a phone call, a text message, or maybe stop by and visit the family in person. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And before you leave today, please be sure that you take a crystal heart from the entryway. You might even like to do some research and see what healing properties it has for you. Become an amateur geologist, just like Diana. And carry that crystal with you as a reminder of her love. At this time, the family invites you to stay for a reception. May you go into this time of fellowship in the spirit of love, just as Diana would have wished for you. Thank you.